Well, welcome back to the channel. My sister wants to discuss squatters because we've dealt with one in the past as of recent.
Well, I think I want to bring it up because I think it was a crazy story. We shared it on Instagram.
Yeah.
It got the most shares.
Follow us on Instagram.
It got the most shares, comments. Like people were just so invested in the drama. And I just think it's important to share it for, anyone who's looking to purchase property and like they come about. I mean, I hope not, but the situation comes up. Hope that it doesn't happen. And then also it's just funny how you figured out like you were getting swindled. It was just
Crazy.
It ended up being a happy ending.
Yeah. The house turned out good. So I was contracted to sell a home for a friend, which I'm more than comfortable doing. Licensed realtor. I was like, yeah, I'll help my friend out. However, his ex-wife was living there and they were going through a separation. So, as you can imagine, I did not have access to the home. She did not want me having access. I couldn't do showings. So essentially, it's just a dead listing.
But let's clarify. She was not legally entitled to this house.
Correct.
She was not on title. Was there a lease? Was there even a lease agreement with her name on it?
No lease. She wasn't owner. Essentially, she's just refusing to leave. So she's technically squatting.
After years, too, right?
After a while.
Yeah, it was time.
Yeah.
So I just want to specify it wasn't like she was, someone was trying to kick her out of her own house.
Possession is like, what is it, 9/10 of the law, they say? So she was technically in possession of the home, which gave her rights. My friend who decided to leave the residence to give her space made the mistake of leaving because now he has given up his residency. So now she's set up residency, has mail going there. It just turned into a massive headache. And long story short, it turned into a dead listing. I gave my friend and his family information. I said, look, come see me when you evict her. I can't do anything to the house until you get this person out. I don't think he wanted to evict his kids who are also living there, which I get, right? Like you want your kids to have a roof over their head. His parents, who were partial owners of the home, didn't want to evict the grandkids. I get it. So he approached me and said, hey, do you want to buy the house? And I said, yes, this is my price, given that I have to go through these steps in order to get this person out. And we made a deal happen. So I bought the house knowing there was a squatter in there. Sight unseen. I did not know the condition of this home, which is ballsy.
We could say, I feel like that's your style, but we could say
balls to the wall.
The pro is that the purchase price reflected the situation.
Right.
So
it was favorable for both parties. One, the owner didn't have to evict his kids, and he was getting out of an unfavorable situation. Two, I got my friend out of a situation, but I also got a decent price for a home in a pretty decent area.
Yeah, so. Because you inherited the problems that came with the home.
Right. So it was a win-win for both of us. And it was more of I want to learn the process, which is why I want to go through this process. But I can tell you I probably lost a year of my life because that pissed me off.
Well, it's just it was stressful. And ultimately it came down to Daniel doing all of the right things, serving all the paperwork, being in communication, handling things properly, legally, respectfully, and her just trying to truly take advantage of the situation, live rent-free, trying to get Daniel to give her money to get out of the house.
Just prolonging the inevitable, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if you're watching this and you've dealt with a squatter, that's all it is. They're just prolonging the inevitable and just trying to take advantage of a situation, which sucks. And I can tell you this, attorneys suck. Attorneys only want your money. There's no like, oh yeah, you should do this or do that. It's like, oh, do you want to do this? Because I will help you do that. They just want the money. I hate everybody.
Can you tell he's angry? But the biggest thing in this, or I should say the craziest part of the story is that in the process of them possibly going to court, them negotiating like a fee for her to get out, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
essentially a cash for keys.
yes, I'll give you money, leave the house. In the process, she secretly moved out.
Right. Yeah.
So she moved out of the house and is still negotiating money to leave the house because she can't afford a moving truck. Well, right, there was like a laundry list of things, that reasons why she needed the money to get out. All the while she was gone.
Yeah.
So how did you finally, like, you got tipped off by a neighbor?
It was bogus. So we were going back and forth via email, my attorney through her attorney, and I had specific questions and requests that I wanted to verify before committing to giving a lump of money to this person to relocate. And one of my requests was, I want to walk through the home, like now, because I'm not going to give you money if you've completely demolished the house, right? That doesn't make any sense. So communication was like back and forth daily, and all of a sudden communication on their end stopped, which kind of was a red flag for me. I was like, okay, why did they stop responding to my request to do a walk through the home? And me, being as frustrated as I am, decided something's up. I'm gonna drive by the house, because occasionally, let's say once a month, I would drive by the house to make sure it's still standing, because I have to insure this thing. I'm paying taxes on this thing
You think one day you're gonna drive by and it's just gonna be a shambles?
Well, yeah. Like one day I'm gonna go by and there's like a trailer full of tweakers there or something. So anyhow, I'm like, all right, I gotta drive by because something's going on. And I drove by and the house looked empty. And you know,
they still had curtains.
They had curtains, but you can tell when a house is kind of empty and being lived in. Like, just a lot of personal property was gone. There was a car in the driveway. But the one thing that I noticed was the Ring doorbell being gone.
And really? That was what it was?
The Ring doorbell being gone. Because I
didn't know that.
Every time I had to serve paperwork to them, I'd have to walk up to the house. And they always had the door open because they had a huge dog. So they would allow the dog access to the screen door. And they had a Ring doorbell. So I was like, I know you could see me in there. But the door was closed and the Ring doorbell was gone. And I was like, I think the house is empty. So we came back later that night with two of my friends, and I set a can of liquid death water just at the corner of the security door. So if the security door opened, it was gonna knock that water down, or someone was gonna physically remove the water and put it somewhere, because why is there a random can of water at the door? Well, the can of water sat there for days, and then that's when we decided we're gonna gain access to the house.
Yeah. I think at that point, right, it was one of these situations where it's like, okay, legally it's mine, right? Legally you own the house, but she had possession, so she had rights. They were going through lawyers, all the things. So then it was like, I don't know if I suggested it or you thought about it. I'm like, just go to a police station and like talk to someone. Like, you just want to make sure there's no negative, repercussions to this, right? There's nothing bad that could happen to you if you go. So he went to the police station. They're like, if you want us to go with you, we can, but
I was like, I don't need your help.
Basically go.
I'm by myself.
I'm not even gonna lie. I was like low-key just a little nervous. But we have footage of like when we first showed up.
I think so. If we have the footage, we'll post it up here. But...
Yeah. Daniel and I just pulled up to the property to talk design, but a few days ago, he took over his house.
Show your shirt. Yeah.
He took over his house, and we're about to show you how it went down.
We essentially broke into the house. Well, first, I didn't break in, but we posted a belief of abandonment on the door, which basically states that whomever is in possession, we believe you've abandoned the property. So after so many days of this post being on the house, now I have recourse to go into the house. So essentially, I waited a few days. No one came to look at the notice. I don't know if we cut a lock. Did we cut a lock?
I think we might have cut. Yeah, we used a bolt cutter
from
the fence, and then Joe reached in the doggy door with his long ass arms and unlocked.
I'm fat, so I couldn't reach to the doggy door, but my skinny friend reached in, unlocked the door, and we went in, and it was just completely empty.
Yeah, but you know what? It wasn't in great shape, but it was. I mean, we've seen some homes, right? Like we've seen some homes with are just straight up nasty. You don't even want to walk in. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't in great condition, but it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't gross.
Right. It was all original, so the house had been neglected.
Yeah.
The worst part was outside. It looked like they threw everything they didn't want into the backyard. Like everything. Tools, clothes, busted toys, bikes, like everything was just like it looked like a dump site in the backyard and the driveway.
Yeah.
But the house was empty.
Yeah.
So we took possession. That was it.
And
they still wanted money.
well, this whole experience was like a first for you.
Right.
Dealing with a squatter. Yeah, this is the first time you like essentially rehabbed a house, what, 90% on your own?
Yeah, so it was a long process, but I took possession. I was working with a contractor at the time, but we had a falling out. We just couldn't come to a conclusion on when scheduling, or when things were gonna get done. And he just kept procrastinating and said, you know what, I'll just do it myself. I'll take on the task of trying to do all the work myself, which I'd say I did 90% of it.
Yeah.
Other than tile in the bathroom,
Electrical,
and air conditioning, because I had and the roof. So, I mean, a couple big items, but as far as internal construction,
Yeah.
like I did everything. So, it turned out great. We'll show some photos of the house, but it looks good. And it was supposed to be an Airbnb, but we didn't Airbnb it because the city does not allow for Airbnb unless you're home sharing, which is a new thing. I think a lot of cities are trying to push Airbnb out, and home sharing essentially means, and this is a 2-bedroom house, mind you, that you have full control of one room and the other room can be rented out. But that's so stupid.
for a temporary basis.
Right, so if you're gonna Airbnb it, a family who wants to go on vacation only has access to one room, and the city kind of referenced that they want you to be in the home while these people are there. I'm like, this seems like a liability to me, and who wants to be around strangers and their children? It just seemed like a headache. So we decided to no longer go the Airbnb route and just put the house up for lease, and we leased it like right away.
And so far,
Great tenants. Yeah,
yeah.
knock on the wood.
Knock on the wood. So far, they're great tenants, so it all ended up working out. But it was definitely one hell of an experience that lasted, what, a year and a half, 2 years? I feel like
Almost
it
2
was.
years.
Yeah.
That's still like going.
What?
But we have, it was between two tenants, a father and son out of Vegas who had came into some money and were trying to relocate here. And then a local who was trying to place his mother and his daughter in a home together. And at the end of the day, we went with the mother and the daughter because it seemed like a better fit.
The grandma and the daughter.
Yeah, the grandma and the daughter seemed like a better fit because the grandma's always home and I don't think she's gonna be partying too much, and then the daughter's always working. So, yeah, they pay me on time. I have no complaints. The water heater did go out, but I kind of knew it was gonna go out, so I replaced that and everything's been fine.
Yeah. Ended up being a happy ending.
Squatter house.
Squatter house. So if you're thinking of buying a house with a squatter in it, or just something to keep in mind, because we've experienced this in the past, in the time that you are purchasing a house and taking possession of the house, if someone else takes possession of the house before you can and has mail going to them, then they now have possession of the house and you cannot just ask them to leave. You have to go through all of the legal channels to get them to go. So just something to think about because we have experienced that one too.
Right. So once you establish residency, it's very hard. Now, there's no one saying you can't get creative with it. And if the owner gives you a lease, I mean, technically, that's possession. If you have a signed lease from the homeowner and you give your buddies access to the house, well, cops legally can't do anything if you have the right to be there. So, I mean, there's ways to get creative and go around it. This process, we went the really straight edge route and doing things properly.
So different from what you like to
Listen,
normally do.
I wanted to go in guns blazing, kick doors down.
I'm the voice of reason in this duo. I feel like
I was like, screw attorneys, screw the squatter, let me go in, kick the dog, kick everyone.
Oh, not
Hey,
the
the
dog.
dog wanted to kick
Not
me.
the dog. You leave that dog alone.
All right. Well, Feel free to leave comments or questions if you have any, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.